Tuscany or Tuscany? Tuscany, 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 Tuscany. Tuscany.
Tuscany.
Tuscany. Bara 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 bara.
Welcome to our casa, and today we're making Swiss chard GNUDI with a spring Parmigiano broth. I know, pretty fancy. First things first is we're gonna start with the broth because that's gonna take a little bit of time, and it's one of my favorite things to make because we're going to use the rinds that are left over from that beautiful Parmigiano Reggiano cheese. I keep mine and I save them in a nice little plastic baggie in the fridge. And all you need is just the end part. Sometimes you get a little bit of the bottom there. Don't throw these away. These are awesome to use for any broth, any soups, any stews, any stocks that you make. You're gonna wanna keep these. All right, first things first, in a large stock pot, we're gonna add a little olive oil. So over medium heat, we're gonna add 1 onion. And it doesn't matter how you cut the onion because everything's gonna be drained out of the broth at the end. After a few minutes, we're gonna add 2 cloves of crushed garlic. Once you see your onions starting to get translucent and the bottom of the pan is browning a bit, we're gonna add the rest of our ingredients. We're gonna add 6 spring onions, a handful of fresh parsley, and we had a lot of fennel this week, so we're gonna use some fennel fronds and the tops of fennels in our broth to give it a really nice flavor. We're gonna add in it's about a 1 pound of Parmesan rinds, about a ½ teaspoon of black peppercorns, and 1 bay leaf. $10 cups of nice cold filtered water. Make sure all your ingredients are covered, and we're gonna bring this up to a simmer. So once it starts simmering, we're gonna lower that flame and we're going to cover it and let it simmer for an hour or till it's reduced. But every so often we wanna come around and give it a nice stir. This way is because the Parmesan doesn't completely stick to the bottom of your pot. Now it's time to prepare the Swiss chard. Usually GNUDI is made traditionally with spinach and ricotta, but since Swiss chard is in season, I thought it would be perfect. You just want to remove the stems of the Swiss chard because those aren't going to cook soft enough for our GNUDI. GNUDI, simply put, is the cousin to gnocchi. There's no pasta making and barely little flour required in the dish. It's kind of like the filling of ravioli, just without the pasta shell. So now we're gonna cook down our Swiss chard. Use a large pan, fill it up with some olive oil, and let's add it in. So we're using 1 bunch of green Swiss chard. As you know, with any leafy green, this is gonna cook down to about maybe a cup. See? Shrunk down to nothing. After your Swiss chard has fully cooked down, we're gonna move it to a strainer. And over a bowl, I'm just going to use my wooden spoon and press down. Try to get all of that liquid out. GNUDI is part of the Tuscan culinary tradition. And out of all 20 Italian regions, Tuscany is the one that is known all throughout the world. Located in central Italy, its capital is the city of Florence. And of course, this region is known for its history and artistic legacy and being the birthplace of the Italian Renaissance, my favorite. But why don't we get an Italian expert in here to talk more about Tuscany? Ta-da! The Italian expert's here.
Yeah, just Italian.
He's Italian.
Landscapes, wine, incredible food. Tuscany is one of the most popular Italian destinations. The western coastline on the Ligurian and the Tyrrhenian Sea is home of the most beautiful beaches and port town. You are on your beach and you look around and you're gonna be surrounded by mountains made of marble. They create the most incredible frame of this dreamy destination. The name Tuscany comes from Etruscan, which is the first civilization that occupied the area. They established agriculture, infrastructure, transportation, and a sewage system. This was happening 700 years before Christ. 2,700 years ago. Etruscans were the coolest. By the 1st century AD, Etruscans got assimilated into the Roman society, and when the Roman Empire collapsed around 500 AD, the barbarians took over. That's when the dark age of Tuscany began.
I feel like I was a barbarian with this Swiss chard.
Do you want to throw that in the broth?
So after squeezing every little drop I could out of this Swiss chard, take all that liquid and add it to our broth. So our Swiss chard is finally complete. We're gonna put it in the fridge and let it get nice and cold before we make our gnudi. Now I think it's time for a nice Tuscan wine.
The wine we're drinking today is the definition of Tuscan red wine, Chianti. We picked this winemaker Salcheto because we are obsessed with them, with their style and their philosophy. It's the second time we use this wine. Our amazing friend Martina represents this producer in her portfolio. They consider environmental management at the center of their core business. This is the first winemaker in the world who had measured and certified the carbon monoxide footprint of every single bottle they produce. You can go on their website and there's a footprint calculator that measures how much is produced every bottle and how much is produced compared to where the bottle is going to go in different markets around the world. The cellar system operates in complete independence, producing its own energy. They compost their own fertilizer and they filter, purify and recycle 100% of their wastewater. On top of everything, this is the first winemaker in Italy that adopted a welfare system for their employees. So don't walk, run to buy and support this producer. The Chianti we are opening today is called Bischero. Bischero with a K, even though in Italian it's spelled with a CH, which sound K. In English it sounds Ch, but in Italy CH is K. Bischero means fool or idiot, but yeah, in a good way. Your best friends are the people that in Tuscany you call Bischero. So it's a cute way to address your friend. 85% Sangiovese, 5% equal Canaiolo, Mammolo and Merlot. I am very excited to try this. Yes!
Cheers.
Cheers.
Delicious.
Thank you, Salcheto.
Thank you, Martina.
And thank you, Massanois.
Tuscany. What a beautiful place. All right, break's over. Gnudi making time. Our Swiss chard is nice and cooled down, and we're gonna add that to our food chopper. We're also gonna add a half of a shallot. We're gonna add our Swiss chard, and we're gonna add our ricotta. This is about a half a pound. We're also gonna add 1/4 cup of Parmigiano Reggiano grated, and 1 egg. Okay, mix that all together. Final thing is we add a pinch of salt. So mix that around. We're gonna prepare our gnudi station. You're gonna want a baking sheet and make sure that is coated with, I'm using semolina flour, but you can just use regular flour or cornmeal if you prefer, just so they don't stick to the pan. I'm gonna use an ice cream scooper. Scoop out a little bit of that ricotta and Swiss chard mixture. We're gonna make that into a little ball. You don't wanna roll it around too much in your hands because that ricotta is gonna melt. And then you're gonna take it into your flour. Make sure it's nice and doused. Put this on the tray. So we're gonna stick our gnudi in the freezer for about 10-15 minutes before we cook them. While the gnudi is in the freezer, let's strain our broth. Before we do that, we're gonna season it with a couple of nice pinches of salt. All right, so once our water is boiling, we're going to salt our water pretty generously. Okay. Gnudi in. Once they rise to the surface, that means they're done, but we want to boil them for about 2 minutes more.
The gnudi.
To the gnudi. To the gnudi. Nothing wrong with this. They're little flavor bombs.
Can I do one noodle in one bite?
I guess so.
Delicious.
Super good. If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe, like, or ring the bell. Comment below.
Bye, thank you.
Ciao.